What's going on, guys? UFC 300 is such a special event. Now, it might not have the most hype names at the top, but top to bottom, it's probably the most deep card in UFC history, and I am beyond excited for it. And with that in mind, I decided to do something a little bit special. Today, we're making a bet on every single fight on UFC 300 from the first fight of the night to the last fight of the night. The rules are the bet has to be minus 150 or better. I can include parlays, though I only do it once because I did feel like it was cheating. And it could be on anything, overs, unders, significant strike lines. I will mention where I made the play and at what line I got the play, just for full transparency. And you could probably still find a majority of these lines as I was placing these bets earlier this morning. So without further ado, let's get straight into UFC 300 betting every single fight.
Oh, till's out! It's over! It's over! It's over! That's what I'm saying, boy! Oh! He got dropped! It's over! It's over! Munoz! Oh my God!
So we start on the prelims with an absolute banger. I made a video, Figueiredo versus Garbrandt, No Love versus the God of War, and I said I was going to look at the over number, but then Dana White comes out with this UFC 300K bonus, and now I don't know what to think. Unders are going to be played, and I think that put a wrench in my plan. So instead, I'm going to parlay this first fight of the night. As you know, I was pretty confident in that breakdown that Deiveson Figueiredo is a little bit faster and a little bit better even at bantamweight. I'm going to parlay him. I wasn't going to take his line specifically because we're at minus 300, and I'm going to parlay him with the other fighter I'm most confident in getting a result. The odds kind of reflect this as well, and that is the Tarantula, one of the longest fighters in his respective UFC division. He takes on Renato Moicano, and when you parlay Jalen Turner and Deiveson Figueiredo, just results, no finishes, nothing like that, you can get them at plus 119. So that was my first play of the day. Jim Miller versus Bobby Green is the second fight of the night, and I'm going under 2.5 rounds at plus money. Bobby Green coming back relatively early after getting brutally knocked out by Jalen Turner, and then you have Jim Miller, who is a submission specialist, who will be hunting that submission against Bobby Green. Now, I get why the over 2.5 is the number here, is the favorite line, but I do think there is a lot of potential for somebody to get a finish in the first or second round. Give me under 2.5 at plus money. Then Jessica Andrade, Marina Rodriguez. I like Jessica Andrade. The line was so much closer when it opened, with Jessica Andrade almost teetering as the underdog. She has now moved to minus 135. I still think that is the play here. Give me Jessica Andrade at minus 135. You got to pick up the unit play a little bit to cash out a unit. So I'm going to take Jessica Andrade. I think Marina Rodriguez struggles when it's a smaller fighter with explosive ability. Marina can win this fight by sticking on the outside, but again, she struggles with takedowns. If Jessica Andrade decides to implement that, you saw it in the Verna Jandiroba fight that Marina Rodriguez can be taken down and controlled if Jessica Andrade chooses that way, or the Amanda Lemos fight where she was getting tagged when Lemos was entering, even as the smaller stand-up striker. Give me Jessica Andrade here. I like the line, minus 135. Gonna have to lay a little more chalk for that one. The third play of the night. So we go past the Turner fight because obviously that is in my parlay. We go to Diego Lopes versus Sodiq Yusuff. Now, I do think this fight is going to be very, very competitive. The line is rather close, with Lopes getting a little bit of the love from his more recent finishes. I do think Sodiq has a chance, but I am going to ride the wave. Every Diego Lopes fight I've watched, he can be taken down, but he is uber active off of his back, and when he's on the feet, he has knockout power, and when he's on the ground, he has submissions from everywhere. So that is why my play for this fight is going to increasing the value. It's going to be Diego Lopes at plus 295 via submission. Sodiq has never been submitted in his career, so that's why we're getting the plus 295 line here. I love that line for Diego Lopes. I think that he might get it in a shot from Sodiq Yusuff and over the rounds. Sodiq is a rather safe fighter and is very, very effective. I like the underdog play as well if I was to pick it straight up, but Diego Lopes by submission, I do like the value. Then we move to Kayla Harrison versus Holly Holm, one of the more unpredictable fights on the card for me. We don't know how Kayla Harrison is going to look at bantamweight. I also think Holly Holm kind of stinks now. Kayla Harrison is obviously going to get the huge favorite line here, but BetOnline had a very, very interesting play for me. If you pick Kayla Harrison by decision, it's plus 120. It's a 3-round fight. I think it's going to get there. If you take Kayla Harrison by unanimous decision on BetOnline, you get it at plus 175. That is enough value for me to make a play. So we're going to take Kayla Harrison, and it has to be specifically by unanimous decision. That is on Bet Online. Then we go to Calvin Kattar versus Aljamain Sterling. I also have a video for this one, and in that video, I gave you my pick. Calvin Kattar, the size, the takedown defense at 91%. The only hesitancy I have is, again, he has been taken down earlier in his career against Fishgold. He has not been taken down really since, and he's coming off ACL surgery at 36. But still, if that wasn't the case, I think that the line would be so close, and I think Calvin has a brain for the game, a brain for recovery. I think that he's going to look his way in this fight. Give me the natural featherweight in this one at plus money at plus 147. I got him Bet Online again. Then Jiri Prochazka versus Aleksandar Rakic. Also made a video on this one, and honestly, having these fights back-to-back on the card, I'm going to contradict myself a little bit. Jiri, first off, been in the top of the UFC division for much longer. He has way more experience, 15 more wins than Rakic with only one more career loss, and he's been at the top of the UFC. He's been at the pinnacle of the sport for his division, but Rakic is coming in as the favorite, which is shocking to me. And then you throw in that Rakic tore his ACL in his last fight against Jan Blachowicz. Over the last 4 years, he's had 4 fights, one every year, and he missed all of 2023, which is crazy to me to see that the king of chaos, in my opinion, Jiri Prochazka, is getting the underdog line. He's only minus 105, so it's very close, but I took him at minus 104 on FanDuel. That one was an easy play for me. I had to make a video on it. Then we get to the main card, the exciting and most stacked part of UFC 300, and it begins with a bummer, in my opinion. I don't know where I would put this fight because I get the promotional side versus the inexperience of Bo Nickal, but they're trying to push this guy to the moon. And to push this guy to the moon, they get him a 10-5 opponent to main card UFC 300. I think that's kind of a joke. Just my opinion personally. I don't know where to go with this fight. There's not lines I really like. I took Brundage KO, Brundage submission. I put literally pennies on this fucking fight. The TKO KO is plus 2,200. The sub is plus 4,100 on FanDuel. Throw a little money on that. Cross your fingers. Don't care to lose it. What can you do? You don't have to tell me on that one. I would probably fade me, but if you're going to fade me, you're going to get fucking minus 7,000 on goddamn Bo Nickal. So you have fun with that one. Then we get to Charles Oliveira, Arman Tsarukyan. That's when we get to really feel the UFC 300 hype come into play. 2 stacked fighters, one up-and-comer, one at the top of his division, former champion. I am going to risk it on over 1.5. Arman tends to go there way more often in his fights. Oliveira is a finishing machine, an exciting fighter, and usually towards the back half of fights, that's when he tends to give up, but he's broken that notion in these more recent performances, and the only way I think this fight ends early is an Oliveira submission or Arman landing a crazy knockout shot. So I'm going to risk the confidence here and go over 1.5 because that is the line right now. You can get that at minus 125 on Betway. That's my play. Justin Gaethje, Max Holloway. This was another one I have a very difficult time betting. Max Holloway is actually getting some time to come up to lightweight this time, so he's probably going to fill into his frame a little more. But when you look at his past fights, in the tough fights for him, he usually concedes significant strikes in the first round. Dustin Poirier is a good one in all of the Volkanovski fights except for one where they tied significant strikes in the first round. Justin Gaethje, more significant strikes in round 1, is minus 125. He is a push-forward fighter, and his fights are kind of on average. He sometimes loses, he sometimes wins. In this fight specifically against the opponent in Max Holloway, I think this first round is going to be really exciting with Gaethje leading the dance for most of the first round. Give me minus 125 on Justin Gaethje to land more significant strikes at Bet365. And then, again, we're going to stick with the significant strike numbers for the main card majority on Bet365. Weili Zhang, 30-plus significant strikes is plus 110. Now, her significant strike line is actually set at 26.5, and she's gone over this in her last 4 fights, but then previous to that, she's actually missed it a couple times. Rose, when she KO'd Weili in the first round, she only landed 7, and then she landed 20 in another Joanna fight. And the other issue here is that Yan does have good significant strike defense. She only absorbs around 3.94, but in a fight of this magnitude against this kind of opponent, Weili landing more than 5.9 significant strikes per minute, I think that she's going to get started quickly in this fight. And when you go from 26.5 to 30, you go from minus 120 to plus 110. I like the line, Bet365, 30 plus. I love that they have the significant strike numbers, plus 25, plus 50, plus 75, plus 100, plus 125. I love when Bet365 does that. They usually save it for big cards. Love that play, plus 110 on Weili Zhang. And then finally, the main event. I'm taking Alex Pereira. The fight's close. Pereira, the champion, getting minus 125. Jamahal Hill is coming off of Achilles surgery. That is a major surgery as well. It derails goddamn Kobe Bryant. I just don't see how I have the power advantage for Pereira. I think his striking is a little tighter. The leg kicks are going to be there. I don't know how this line isn't a little bit wider. Give me Alex Pereira at -125 on Betway. And that's my biggest play. I actually went with 2 units on that one. Alex Pereira is a different animal, and I think that his story will end in the heavyweight division very, very soon. I don't think it gets derailed. I think this is going to be Pereira's night. Give me Pereira at -125. And that is a bet for every single UFC fight on UFC 300. All my picks will be on screen now. I hope all of you enjoy UFC 300. If you enjoyed this content, smash that like button, subscribe to Combat Sports Central, and I will see you in the next one.